And we're live. It's Wednesday, so you know what that means. It's closing show live day. Somebody gave me some feedback the other day. They said my intro is a little bit long. So, I mean, not one person, it was a few people. So I'm going to keep my intros a little bit shorter this time. But welcome to the Closing Show Live. Thanks for joining us. The Closing Show Live is a weekly live show featuring the people of Proposify, sales stars in the trenches, and revenue leaders. The Closing Show Live is hosted by me, Nadia Milani, VP of Marketing at Proposify. And each week we discuss the challenges we're facing, the no BS lessons we've learned so you can crush your close rates. Sometimes I mess up the words. The Closing Show Live is brought to you by Proposify. Get consistency, control, and visibility into your proposal process. Start your 14-day trial today at proposify.com. So some housekeeping just really quickly. Sometimes the live will freeze, so it happens once in a while on LinkedIn. Just press pause and then play again. You'll be back right into the show. You can catch the recording on Proposify's LinkedIn page or at proposify.com or even YouTube. So just search Closing Show Live and all of our episodes are there. And today you can win a prize pack. Just ask a question in the comments and you're going to be entered to win an amazing Closing Show Live and Proposify swag pack. And Hunter, our BDR extraordinaire, he has the prize wheel at the end of the show. So he's going to spin the prize wheels for your chance to win and he's going to select a winner. So we are going to be talking about something that's new in my wheelhouse because I am leading the BDR team at Proposify. And it's been 4 or 5 months now, and it's been awesome. But we are going to be talking about BDRs and SDRs and how to be the top SDR. So let's all unite on that. And what better way to do it than with an SDR pro, Heidi Briones is on the show. She is an SDR and she's been doing it for quite some time and has a very interesting story about how she became an SDR and her SDR career. So we're going to dig into how she became the smoothest cold caller ever. Plus, we're going to get into how to craft the perfect cold email and how to make some great cold calls. Welcome to the show, Heidi.
Hey, thanks for having me, Nadia. Great to be here.
Thanks for showing up and thanks for doing the show. You know what? I will say though that I find that I when I reach out to guests, I've been just indexing lower on my female guests. So I'm so happy you said yes to this because I need to I just want to have a lot more females on the show. So I'm so happy that you're here. And I want to get right into it because you have such an interesting story. Walk me through how you became an SDR. Because it's not the path that most people have. And let's start there. So what was your path to becoming an SDR?
Yeah, I mean, good question. I was a teacher for quite some time, I guess better part of a decade. And then I was actually getting my PhD and I in linguistics and I dropped out and I went back into sales because that was the only other job that I had ever had really other than teaching. So I did a lot of different things. I did door-to-door, travel sales, insurance. And I had heard of this kind of sales development representative type of role at tech companies as a way for salespeople to break into tech, so to speak. And I applied, I don't even know, for probably 5 years and, mostly crickets. Sometimes I got an interview here or there and really nothing. And I think maybe a couple things changed it, but I think COVID for one, I mean, everybody moving to remote suddenly opened up a lot more job opportunities because then they were just hiring people pretty much anywhere. And then, had a bit more experience in sales, ran for office actually in Oregon and just felt more confident about myself. And I guess I presented myself finally a little bit better and got in as I started as a full cycle rep at TripAdvisor, and then went to SurveyMonkey / Momentive as a BDR, SDR after that. So currently I run my own business, though. I'm not currently an SDR, not to correct you, but I'm not currently in that position.
I thought you were. Okay, cool. So I didn't. Yeah. So thanks for making that very clear. That's awesome.
That's okay. No shade to SDRs. I work with them all the time and I love the position. And I take an SDR role again too with the right company. So it's a great role.
Amazing. So why do you think, you've been an SDR, you've been in sales. Why do you think it is the easiest yet the hardest role in an organization? Because I find that people are it's easy, but it's actually really hard.
I don't think it's easy. I think that it's easy to, I guess, break into tech, like I mentioned. I as opposed to other things. Like, what are you going to learn to code and be an engineer, or, like, how are you going to break into tech otherwise? So like, as an entry level kind of position, I guess you could say it's easy to get a foot in the door. But once you got the foot in the door, no, I mean, it's very, very difficult, especially when the economy is not doing so great. When there's tons of VC money flooding in and the economy is rolling, you could maybe say it's somewhat easy because everybody's looking to spend money. But when they're not looking to spend money, then you realize like how difficult it can be, right? And how, important your skill set is, and how, you have to pivot and iterate, and how you run your own book of business. I think that's why maybe like insurance sales kind of help me in the role, because you run your own book of business. It's all on you. And that's kind of how you have to treat your SDR role. It's like, this is your business. It's your pipeline. It's everything, it's your communication. It's how you're presenting yourself, how you're working with, your team. And it's all on you at the end of the day, and being fully responsible for that.
I love that. So my very, very, very first role out of college/university was I was an SDR.
Nice.
Don't know this. It's like this like thing that happened like a long time ago. But I love that because it was actually really entrepreneurial. So it is totally about your book of business. Like, how are you performing? What are your goals? What are you going to do every day to get there? And it actually really taught me how to have, number one, a lot of respect for sales early on in my career, which I think has helped me be a better marketer, because I took that like book of business mindset and I brought it right into marketing, because then I was really about performance and how are we going to drive performance, not only as an individual contributor, but for the actual team. So I love that spin on being an SDR. So how do you become the top SDR at your company? That's what we're talking about today. So I'd love your perspective on how do you become the top SDR?
Yeah. I mean, I think Skylar was like, be the only SDR at your company. That's how you could be the top. So that's one way, be the only one. So it's going to be totally dependent, of course, on the company that you're at, what you're selling, your personal style. There's so many dependent factors to be the top. And being the top, you may not necessarily need or always want to be the top. Like I tend to be in like the top 2 or 3 normally at an organization, and I'm okay with that. Like, I kind of want everybody to like feel some love, and like I've been at organizations where I'm always at the top, and it can get kind of toxic. Like, I can get toxic, like people start like hating on you, so like I don't know if that's really like the goal, to be the top, but I think the goal is to be like your top, like to top yourself, and to be like how the best that you can be in that role. So I think that to be the top SDR, you have to be like an expert in your field. You have to be, sharp as a tack, as they used to say, like in the 80s sales training. But you have to be someone that researches, your prospects, their world. You're curious. You're always like trying to find out more and more. You have to be able to pivot and change your approach. You have to be natural, flexible. You have to try new things. You have to run your own book of business. Like I mentioned, you have to, know your numbers, know like where you need to get to go, what are the inputs that get you there, and have a strategic plan to actually, hit that. And so I think that there's so many facets to it. I mean, are you an organization where they're sending you a ton of inbound? Then those are different skill sets than somebody who's fully outbound. Are you the only SDR, or is there a big team? I think that if you have a team and you're lucky enough to like work somewhere where there's other SDRs that have performed well in the past, then great. Then you can chat with them. That's what I did when I was at Momentive. I just went and saw the people that were on the leaderboard that like I thought, hey, I like them. They kind of seem similar to me. Let me go chat it up with them. Or, we had Gong, luckily. So I went and listened to all the Gong calls of, if you don't have access to those types of things, which I understand that too. I've worked at startups, then you may have to come up with your own strategy and, build it from the ground up. So it's going to totally depend on who you are and where you are.
Love it. So I love that advice about like not really about being the top ICP, or sorry, the top person SDR at your organizations, but being really about your like being the best you can be. So
right.
That's very inspirational, because it's about perfecting your own game, not necessarily being the best person on the team. Sorry, I was kind of reading a comment while I was talking, so I got your ICP. So Kyle says, your ICP. I think what he means is about being the top SDR, you got to know your ICP. You got to speak to your ICP. Thanks,
Yeah,
Jesse, for
100%.
joining us today. Great points. Talk to the people on your team. Love that. And Tim is like SpongeBob. I'm ready. Great. I love Tim that you're ready. If you have a question you want to win it's Proposify
Yeah, drop some
prize
questions.
yeah, all you got to do is like throw a question. And today, so unfortunately, Chat GPT was down, so I had to write my own questions today. So if I'm asking questions and you're like, I can ask better questions today, I want you to go for it. Just like put it into the chat and ask a question because they might be better than mine today, because they're all mine.
Or
And
maybe someone has like a paid Chat GPT account. They can go in and start popping them in GPT-4. So we can get.
But like being an SDR, and you made a good point too, like it depends on your organization because sometimes like inbound is going to be, if you have a lot of inbound leads, it's just a different SDR. You're going to be more of a BDR function. But if you are an outbound, cold calling is going to be huge. Like, what's your point of view on how do you make a good cold call? What's your secret sauce to the best cold call?
Yeah, I mean, I think I've made whatever 100,000 cold calls or something in my life. A lot of those are B2C and then more B2B recently. But I think that, I've been through so many different sales trainings and had so many different managers, so many different approaches. Spent thousands and thousands of dollars. And what I arrived at was just that I need to be myself and to be natural and to try to have a conversation like an actual human being. So that's really my point of view with cold calling is I don't love pitching on a cold call. It's just so awful to me and cringeworthy. I really just I'm a small talk person. So some people hate it, but I like a little small talk at the beginning. Just how's your morning going? That kind of thing. Just kind of get their vibe and their mood. I'm very intuitive. So I like to hear, what kind of mood they're in. Like I can hear if someone's a hostile or not. And then I do typically like to ask for some kind of permission to chat. Like, yeah, do you have a couple minutes? Something chill. But then the most important part really is like kind of like a probing question or like this question that you ask to kind of get the conversation going and see if it's worth continuing this call or not, if there's a way that you can help them or not, and being totally detached from the outcome of that. Like you're really there to learn. You're there to get some kind of win on that call. And that win could just be learning that that's not somebody to reach out to, or that, maybe you reach out to somebody else at the org, or maybe you learn something about that particular company and maybe, it's not a fit right now. And, you should remove the other people from your list, or maybe you book the meeting, but like, it doesn't, really matter. What matters is your mindset going into it, detaching from, any kind of outcome, because prospects are going to hear that. They're going to hear if you're like pushy for the meeting. It's just gross. And everybody knows when someone's trying to push them into something that they don't want to do. So really it's just asking that question that shows that you've done your research, a little bit about their world, but you don't know everything. You're not going to assume that you can solve some problem that they may or may not have. And then asking that and trying to open up a conversation and then just get into the point and like, hey, the point is to chat about this later. Would you like to? And getting out of there. I mean, cold call should be short, to the point, and you should be relaxed and sound like an actual human that cares about them.
Such a good point. And you articulated something that I didn't even know was a thing back when I was a BDR. So I ended up like over exceeding on all my goals. I became like the best SDR back then. And then I got promoted to like an AE within like 8 months. Wow. So like, oh, you're amazing. And let's go face to face with people. And that's what I did. So what I did was I actually didn't pitch them. I asked them how their day was. And I asked them, and I used to have conversations as if, I knew them, and they were talking, all of a sudden they're talking to me. And then all of a sudden I'm booking this meeting, and all of a sudden they come in. Back in the day, they would come in, it wouldn't be virtual. So, so I love how you touched on that, because that for me worked, and I became easily the best SDR at my organization.
Yeah, I think people want to work with actual human beings that they at least trust, right? Ideally but at least, they want to trust you and like you a little bit, or why do they want to keep talking to you? I mean, it's like we've gotten away from that, I think. In sales, it used to be very, very relationship heavy, which doesn't scale, so we can't do that, so we've become, I think we've gotten so far away from that. So I think that it's super important to be yourself If small talk's something that you do, then do it. I mean, I just think of it like if I called my friend out of the blue, would I just start like pitching them on something? Would I just like call them and be like, yo, you got to come out to the bar right now. Like, come on. I'd probably be a little more like chill, right? I'd probably be like, yeah, how's it going? You having a good night? Oh yeah, we were just out like, here at this place that you love. Like, I don't know, you don't want to come out or nothing, do you? Like, I know you're probably comfy in your PJs or something, and then see if they want to. I mean, it's like, I'm not going to be aggressive and pushing them into do something that they might not want to do, right? It's like consent is always important in every facet of, your life. So I think, yeah, don't get away from who you are. Don't try to use tactics. Just be a human being that people want to talk to you and open up to. And once they're opening up to you, then ask if they want to talk to you again. So it's pretty simple.
Love it. Alexandra asks, how do you handle when a prospect demands pricing over the phone? So they're demanding it. What do you do?
It depends on the company. I mean, like some companies are really adamant about you not giving pricing, or like you might not have it because it's this weird custom thing. So let's just assume that the pricing. I tend to give like a range if they're really pushing me. Like let's say your enterprise plan starts at 10K and it could go up to 30K or something. Like I might say something like, typically the account executive would give you a custom pricing based on exactly what you're looking for. But I understand that you want to know if this is in the realm of possibility. Typically our plans can range from anywhere from, like 12,000 and maybe like 20,000, but that's just, again, don't quote me on that. Does that sound like something in the realm of possibility, or you let me know? Just something like that. If you're, in the position where you're allowed to give a range, I think that that's fine, because then if they're like, oh heck no, I thought it was 1,000, there's no way I can do it. It's impossible. Or if they're like, oh yeah, cool, that's totally reasonable. I mean, then at least you find out, right? You don't want to book a meeting with your AE with somebody who thought it was $500 and that's going to be like 15 grand. Yeah, that's what I would do. I just tend to give like a general range based on, what I think.
It works for recruiting. I mean, let's like, what's the range of this position? Give me the salary range. And it's like, oh, that's too low. I'm not going to even bother moving forward.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. I mean, yeah.
Wyatt asks, being an SDR and cold calling is a real grind. Yes, it is, Wyatt. Can you shed some light on how you best manage your time and your day-to-day? Really good question.
Yeah, that's true. I think that's like the main thing, really. Like once you got like the mindset down and you like kind of know your stuff at least a bit, now it's like, okay, how do I actually get this stuff done and manage like my energy throughout the work week and the day? So I mean, I'm a big fan of, some kind of time blocking, whatever makes sense to you, but also like kind of being flexible with it, because if things are going to come up, meetings are going to come up, your boss is going to need something. So you don't want to stress yourself out by being too rigid with your time blocks either. So what I would like to do is have like, kind of like a weekly plan. Like, okay, on Mondays, I'm going to take like 20 accounts and pull like 5 prospects from each of those, and really focus on, how am I going to start this sequence, whether it's email or whatever I'm going to do. And then I'll have like 2 call blocks. Like I tend to have like a morning or an afternoon, but I allow myself like some flexibility. Like as long as I get like focus blocks in, then I'm cool with it. And then on Tuesday, I might be like, okay, this is like my dial heavy day. Like this is what I'm doing. And I just try to basically set up my week prior to that week starting, and know that it's going to get screwed up and know that like things are going to pop up. But as long as I get like my most important, like effective things done, which could be calls at some roles, it could be emails at others. It really depends on your role. As long as those blocks are like protected and I get those done, even if I have to move them around, as long as those are focused blocks, then I feel good about it. And also make sure to get outside and like go on a walk and step away and, touch grass from time to time so you don't go crazy.
Touch that grass.
Yeah.
So Brian Lamanna from Gong was here a couple of weeks ago, or 2-3 weeks ago. And he said the same thing, like blocking your time, like is so important. But like things happen and like, it doesn't always have to go exactly as planned, but as long as you have the most important things blocked, really important. And like kind of having almost like themes, because like when there's like a lot of context switching in a day, that can really be draining as well. So I love how you pretty much had the same advice. So it's like the experts are saying the same thing. We have another question here. There's a lot of questions about cold calling. So this is
Yeah.
great. We don't have to ask. We don't have to ask my
Your
non.
questions are good. Yeah.
So we've got LinkedIn user. For some reason I can't see the name, but we'll figure it out later. Quick question for cold calls: how do you get your connect rates up? I actually was going to ask the same question. Finding that I'm
Yeah.
not getting a lot of calls answered probably these days. We talked a lot about market conditions changing. So curious on your
Yeah.
answer on that.
I mean, there could be multiple problems with that. You could have a data issue. You could have poor data. That's one side of it. You could have an IT type of issue, like your phone could be getting marked as spam. You may need a different phone number or to change your phone numbers that you're dialing out on, or to register your phone number like officially as a business. And, there's different ways around that, something to talk to IT about and find out. It could be that you're dialing at the wrong time of day. I mean, like thinking about like when you're calling the East Coast versus Central versus West Coast versus Hawaii. I mean, those things can be important. I'm assuming that you've got, most of those down. Then what numbers are you dialing? Are you dialing mobile, direct, both? Are you making sure you're hitting like every number that you can find? And then beyond that, like you could get some kind of power dialing technology so that you can just get through more dials. But connect rates, without having like everything all set up, like high quality data, verifying that data, making sure your calls aren't getting marked as spam and everything else, you're fighting with a lot of people to try to get that person to pick up, along with like whatever else is going on in their day. And phones are getting smarter and smarter, to block out these calls that are, not solicited. Let's be real, that, they didn't ask for us to call them. That's the whole point. So, I mean, there's only so many ways around it. It's just assuming that you got good data, it's the right number, assuming that like you're not marked as spam, assuming all of that. I mean, the only really other thing you can do is to make more dials and maximize each conversation that you're having, or try a different channel. If that person's never going to pick up their phone, that's certainly going to happen. And then you may need to reach out to them in another way. Maybe email's better. Maybe LinkedIn's better. But either way, I think people are normally getting 2 connects per like 50 dials. If you're getting somewhere around there, then that's unfortunately normal right now. We'd love to see that go up, but times are tough and people aren't looking to pick up their phone and spend money right now, like they will, but in other times. But that'll change. So I would say, look at those problems, and you either have to make more dials or try different channels as well as dialing.
Yeah, I love that answer. True that. TJ asks, if your probing question isn't relevant to a prospect's role, do you have any tips in asking follow-up questions, pivoting?
Yeah, I mean, so I can give an example of a call that I made that it's posted like on my website and other places on LinkedIn. But so I was calling a director of analytics, at a e-commerce store, and the company was selling some kind of, that I was working with, was selling some kind of chat service. And so I always have like a hypothesis. So my probing question is really like a hypothesis. And I try not to ask it like super open-ended questions. I really want like more closed-ended questions and to give them an easy out. So my question to him was like, hey, so you guys have an online chat. Are you looking at the analytics for those chat conversations or not really? So like, how could like that not work? Because he could be like, no, I don't look at that at all, and then it could be like, I could be like, oh, gotcha. Like, is that something that, XYZ company is focused on, or are you just that's not really on your radar at all? And then they might be like, oh yeah, we are, but actually this person does it. And like, or like this team handles that. Or they might be like, not even, we don't care. Like we get, all our data and leads from other places, and that's like just low priority. Okay, then this isn't going to work. They're not going to be open to talk about something that they don't care about, And in that call, he happened to look at it, and so it was an opening, right? So you want to make that probing question like easy for them to answer and not like a trick or a gotcha, and give them like an easy out. So that's why I'm like, or do you look at that or not really? Because I could be like, no, not really, don't really care about that, and that's fine. Like I'm not trying to pigeonhole them or trick them in any way. Like they can tell me it's not relevant to them, and that's part of like asking that question in a very neutral way. It's like, what is your process like? Can we help or not?
Love it. So where can they find that call if somebody wants to follow up?
Yeah, you can find it on YouTube. If you just Google my name, I think it comes up. It's an outplay call. You can go to ladypolaris.io as well. It's on my website, embedded in there, and I think it should be on my LinkedIn too.
Love it.
So yeah.
So good. See, and this is a good segue here. We're going to now just step away from the cold calling conversation. We're gonna switch gears into email. So Sarah, she starts it off with, how do you stand out with your cold emails to get a high response rate leading to a meeting?
Yeah, I mean, again, it's kind of similar to cold calls. You want to make sure you have good data. Do you have the right email? Is your email landing in the primary inbox? There's a data issue, there's an IT issue. Let's assume that you've got those down, and you're getting the primary inbox. How do you actually stand out and make them want to respond? I would say you need to get to the point really quickly, be hyper relevant, and have some kind of soft ask, some kind of soft CTA that's either like, would you want to learn more? Could I send you a quick video? Could I let you know how it works? That type of a thing. And not asking for time, but like making that hyper relevant to something that they're doing in their business, like day to day. And then ask if they want to hear more about that. And then if they say yes, then that's your opening. But don't send marketing emails as a salesperson. Okay, that's a marketer's job.
We learned the lesson yesterday.
Yeah.
If you haven't seen Heidi's post, go to her LinkedIn profile and you'll see what we're talking about. Love it. Why do people like? I understand. I do understand it, but like, why do we all need to shit on sales emails? Like the thing is like if you're gonna shit on it, like give some give a reason. Give what could be different. So if you don't like something, the way to, I think, like actually add some value is state your perspective of what could be better in the sales email.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know what I mean? So I just can't understand people who just go like, this is the worst email. Why are you and the thing is that email got like so much engagement. And to me, I thought it was, first of all, not a bad email.
No.
And secondly, I just thought that the person who posted didn't give any like points of what could have been different.
Yeah, I think honestly, I really think that people just love the engagement that they get when they, go after salespeople on LinkedIn, because it's like 90% of LinkedIn is salespeople, right? So like if they see something, they're going to comment on it, and it gets the most engagement and everybody goes wild, especially if it's like a marketer or something. And it's just like a way for people to get engagement and to get, people looking at their profile. So there's that. I mean, LinkedIn is still a self-promotion, platform, number one. So people do want to promote themselves and get themselves out there. And if they see it working for somebody else, I feel like it's once a week where like somebody, either like a marketer or like an IT person, like is like, I hate this, don't ever do this. And it's just, it's wild. I mean, it's like, for one, I don't even care. Like I get tons of marketing emails and sales emails like all day long. I like don't even care. I just don't care. Like I get calls, like some of them are bad. Like I don't care enough to post about it. like I just don't. And if I did, like I don't even know if I have. I only do when I'm like pointing out how good it was, honestly. Like if I'm like, they did a great job. Like I've done that before because I know how hard it is. And I'm like, it was a great job. Was it like perfect? No, but it was a great job. So I'll do shout outs. I don't like to do call outs so much. And it just feels like crap. Like if somebody sees that, I just think like you gotta have empathy. Like when you're working with humans, like how are you a marketer or in sales if you have no empathy and you really think it's okay to like post this, even if you take their name out and they're going to see it. I mean, if they're prospecting you, they're going to look at your post and they're going to see it. It's going to like ruin their day. It's like, it's so sad. And it doesn't add value in my perspective. It's fun. I mean, like you can get engagement, but it's not really adding any value, and everybody has their own take. If you look at the comments, like if somebody's thing is personalization, then they're like, this is a horrible email because it's obviously automated and I'm against automation. So you shouldn't do that, you know? And then other people are like, I think that's fine. Like these actually work for me. You know, I've gotten tons of meetings like that. And it's like, yeah, I mean, I've gotten, you know, messages, emails that were technically bad, but I've booked meetings from them because they were relevant and timely and I needed it. And it was something interesting to me. And like, yeah, the email might have been horrible, but I don't care if it's relevant to me. And so much of that is like luck and timing and, you know, the volume that this person's putting out. So like, I don't hate on anybody's approach because worst thing I can do is sit, delete, move on with my day and it's over, right?
Maybe just every marketing leader needs a BDR team reporting into them, and then they will appreciate outreach, no matter how good, bad, or ugly it is. Okay, so we're going to ask one more question, and there's a bunch of you who had the same one. So I'm just going to, first of all, thanks for everyone for the awesome questions. The engagement is on fire today, so thank you. So we have Sierra. What about subject lines? Any that you find give the best results? And Michael Cap asked the same. What subject lines lead to a higher open rate?
Yeah, shorter subject lines, maybe 2 to 3 words, sometimes even 1 word, and just it states what the email is about, you know, like if it's about data, data numbers, data analytics, like literally just something that sounds kind of internal-ish without, you know, trying to fake that it's internal. But actually just sounds like something in their day-to-day that's, you know, something they actually care about that makes them want to open it. Like, yeah, I care about my data analytics or my numbers, you know, or whatever it is, or like pipeline, like whatever the heck you're selling to, and make sure that that's like in that email somewhere, that if you say pipeline, you know, whatever numbers or something in the subject line, then make sure that's in the email. Just really summarize what that email is about in like 1 to 3 words tops. And I think you got it. I mean, it doesn't have to be clever, you know, it doesn't have to be cute. You know, this is just a sales email to get to the point and not get you marked as spam. If you're trying to trick them and stuff, they might get annoyed, mark you as spam, and then you're ruining your domain reputation. So be honest, be to the point, say what it's about, and don't try to be too clever. It doesn't really work. Eliminate like question marks, their first name, anything like that. That just triggers sales resistance. Just make it super short to the point and about something they actually care about.
Heidi, you're freaking awesome. Thank you so much for today. That's why I need to make my intro shorter, because people have been DMing. They're like, your intros are too long. So I made it shorter, but thank you. I think you've like nailed all the questions. How can people get a hold of you or connect with you if they want more insight into to be the top SDR at their work?
Sure. Yeah, like I mentioned, I have a business. It's ladypolaris.io. So ladypolaris.io. I think I did that right. Or you can go, you know, search my name on LinkedIn, Twitter, anywhere else. I have Substack, whatever you want. And yeah, happy to connect and help you with anything that you need or like. I typically coach and trade SDRs or build playbooks for SDR teams at smaller organizations. So if you need any help with that, happy to chat and see if it, you know, would be useful for you. And yeah, it's been great. Thanks for having me.
So good. Hunter, do we have the clapping sound effects yet? Thanks, Heidi. I don't know if we had the sound effects, but like round of applause for Heidi. You're awesome.
Well,
we're to the prize wheel now. We're going to give away a swag pack. Hunter, BDR extraordinaire. He's going to spin the wheel.
So unfortunately, no clapping. I'll have clapping for next week.
Okay.
All right, here we go. Ready?
Let's go. Let's get that swag.
Drum roll.
Alexandra.
Woo! Alexandra. Congratulations.
Some swag.
Alexandra, you just got to connect with us marketers at proposify.com. I'll drop it in the comments section. Thanks everyone for joining us this week. If you want to get a hold of Heidi, she just said where, and she dropped her website. We're also going to drop it in the comments. Have a look. Next week, we've got a pretty good show. So we've got the Ross Simmons is going to be in the house. So that's great. So join us next Wednesday. We'll have Ross, and we're going to talk about social selling, branding, and all that fun stuff. Have a great Wednesday. See you next time.
Take care.